Okay, the star of tonight is the Lactobacillus plantarum. It is absolutely teeming in sauerkraut to the point that a teaspoonful of the juice is giving you trillions of them, literally trillions of them. And I know that those little tablets that you get given, probiotic tablets, may have up to 5 billion in there, and some of them have been sitting on the shelf too long and there's absolutely nothing in them. So this is a very, very cheap way of getting probiotics. Now, the Lactobacillus plantarum is one of the main police force of our gut. It's in there and it lines our gut like icing on a cake. It just lines the whole thing, and it attaches itself to the gut and does some amazing things. One of the things it does is that it digests protein, and it digests it really rapidly, and that means that if you're ingesting protein, it's got less chance of getting through the gut wall and into the bloodstream, which of course causes allergies. So this is another reason why you need to be eating it to prevent allergies. And also it is a helper of getting nutrition from your gut into your bloodstream, so it does that as well. But like I said, it's the police force. So it actually gives off hydrogen peroxide, stopping the bad bacteria from making any ground. Because you've got in your gut about 15% bad bacteria, that's normal, and 85% good bacteria. But our guts, unfortunately, are swinging the wrong way, and that's where illness is coming from. So we need to get these things back in. In fact, scientists have had a look at the guts of us Westerners and found that 75% of us don't have any of this bacteria. So that is serious, very, very serious indeed. Now, pregnant women. I don't know if any of you out here are pregnant, but pregnant women need to get this bacteria into their gut, because as a baby goes down the birth canal, it gets its inoculation. It doesn't have any bacteria in its gut until it goes through the birth canal and takes a gulp, and that's where it gets it. So if you don't have it in your gut, the baby doesn't get it. So it's very, very important. And while we're on that subject, I think we need to discuss what other things reduce these bacteria in our gut. And one of the major things in the West is antibiotics. Antibiotics mean anti-life. Probiotics mean pro-life. So if you're, say, giving a new baby that's just had its inoculation antibiotics, you've wiped most of it, if not all of it, out. So that's why researchers have found that children with asthma have often had antibiotics very early in life. And it's something we should stop and think. Antibiotics are not aspirin and Dispirin. They're very serious medication. I'm not saying you should never have them, but just think about that. The other thing is processed food, white sugar, white flour, or what we call junk food. That is inhibiting the bacteria as well. And then there's chlorinated water. For after all, we put chlorine in the water to get rid of bacteria. So when you're guzzling it, you're not helping the situation at all. So these things need to be looked at as well. So I think we should just get on with sauerkraut. Now, to do this, you need a container. And this is the right kind of container. This is the bestest container for sauerkraut, and it's, if you can find one of these, lucky old you. I managed to get this on an auction site, and it cost me $10, and I love it. And you just got to make sure there's no chips inside and that the glazing is right. Now, if you can't get this, then you could use a food grade plastic pail, but this is the best because it keeps everything cool. And so I'll show you how to use it in this one. And also you could use glass, but I find glass lets too much light in. So if you can just hunt one of these down, ask your granny. Ask your great granny, if you have one, if she's got one of these in the garage, because nobody uses them anymore. So we'll start with this. Now, first and foremost, clean. Make sure it's clean. Now, sauerkraut must have, as a majority, cabbage. And I just went out in my garden today and got a red one and a white one, and then found all sorts of other bits and pieces out there I think I'll throw in there. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with some cabbage and put it down the bottom like that. I should have actually put a glove on because now I'm about to put my hands in beetroot. And I thought, why not a little bit of beetroot? Because beetroot is one of the superfoods actually. And so we'll put some of that in. And the beauty about this is you're not actually destroying the food nutrients at all. You're not boiling, you're not adding vinegar like they do to preserve things these days. It's no more bacteria, it's vinegar. And by the way, while I'm at it, the FDA and the USDA have said that all of this sort of stuff should be heated up and pasteurised and canned before you use it. And I'm just leaving that with you. You've had your warning and we'll move on. Naturally, I just don't do that. Why would you? But all those cans of sauerkraut that you buy and you spend a fortune on have got nothing in them whatsoever. There won't be anything living in that can at all because they've been heated to such a high temperature and everything is gone. So this is the way to do it. And it's as cheap as chips. So now I've got that in here and it says that you should have about, I don't know, for every kilo of vegetables, and I have kind of weighed this, you need 1.5 tablespoons of salt. And I've been making this for a while now, so I don't actually bother with that measurement. I just know with my eye that I've put in about that much into my container, and now I'm just going to put a little bit more, I think, why not? Sprinkle it with salt. Yes, that's good. And then you need some sort of instrument of torture, and this is my chapati rolling thing, and what you've got to do is give it a good beating, and what that's doing is actually breaking the cell walls down. It doesn't take much effort to do it actually. Breaking the cell walls down to let out the juice. The more juice the better, because the bacteria are going to feed on the sugars in it, and the salt helps a little bit too. All right, bang, 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 bang. It's a bit of a process, but it's well worth it. Okay, and some more. I'm determined to get this whole thing done. And more salt. Now use sea salt, don't use iodized salt ever, anywhere near any of your bacteria. You want good, dirty grey sea salt. It's got nutrients in here and actually the bacteria thrive on them. So spend a bit of money, go to a health food shop and get yourself some proper unbleached salt. The hands get a little bit pink, but not to worry. It's going to be worth it. Right. Now I've seen a lot of people on the internet who say, if you don't like your food sour, then get into your sauerkraut pot in the early days, like maybe day 2, go in there. Oh, that's not very sour. I like that. My husband will eat that. But it doesn't actually work, because what happens is that after I've done all this beating, a group of bacteria are going to move in almost straight away. And they are going to start eating the sugars and breaking this cabbage down, and they're going to drop the pH. But they're not the ones, we're looking here for Lactobacillus plantarum. That's what we want. We don't want them. They're just part of the chain that's going to be happening. So don't get into here and think you're doing yourself a huge amount of favours taking the thing early. You're not. There's nothing in there except the wrong kind. So more beating, bit of a messy task. Take out your frustrations and give all the people who've done you wrong. Bit more salt, why not? Now you can put any old thing in here. I know that the Koreans are quite fond of putting squid in their kimchi or their sauerkraut. And I'm not up to it. I think the only wildlife that might end up in here is the odd slug that I failed to notice. Okay. But you could put a bit of apple in here, you could put some fruit in here, you know, anything. Everything's going to ferment if you do it properly and give off their goodies. Okay. Oh, why not tip the whole thing in? Here we go. And a bit more salt. Right. It does take a bit of pounding, and probably, if you can find something, I had a look today in a shop to see if I could find something a little bit wider, would actually get the pounding done a bit quicker. But it's not too tedious. There we go. You'll find that as you do this, you can see the moisture building up, and I'll show you in a minute. And the bulk is actually dropping and dropping and dropping because you're getting rid of the gaps. It's getting much, much wetter. Maybe I'll stop and let you have a wee look in there. But you can actually see that it's pushing down, getting quite wet, but it's not enough yet. So just keep pounding. Put more red cabbage in. I grew this myself, so I'm quite proud of it. There we go. It's great. The last bit of pounding, the last bit of salt. Now I reckon in the old days they would have taken the sauerkraut out and then cooked it up, because they had no concept that this was actually probiotics. It was just a method of preservation. And I'm asking you not to cook it up. I think that you could put it, like Shana said, into your mashed potato, because you're really not going to destroy that many in the heat of mashed potato. But basically what I do with it is to have it as a condiment. So sprinkle it in kids' sammies, you know, instead of coleslaw or lettuce. And to be honest, if you're just giving a child a tablespoonful, you have given them a massive, massive dose of probiotics. And if it was a baby, maybe just half a teaspoon of the juice. That wonderful Lactobacillus plantarum will move in. We're almost there. You can hear the squishy, squishy sound. That's because there's a bit more water down the bit below. And you can, if you want, to put your hands in here and sort of toss all the ingredients together, but I'm not going to because it's too messy. Here we go. Right. Oh, one more for the road. Here we go. Right, I'm going to clean the sides off so there's no stray bits of coleslaw there, because that's really what it is effectively, pounded coleslaw. There. So now we've reduced it down to that.